So you can export Finale files as MIDI so that you can open them in Reaper and then assign instruments to them, add envelopes, or whatever else you want to do. Now in this case, I have a harp and voice piece. I would like to have a MIDI version of the harp so that I could give it to a singer. Let's say I've already done this, but let's just say that that's what I want to do. And now I just go to my part. I'm selecting my harp part, which obviously needs some serious editing. This is not the actual harp part that I use for the harpist. So all I have to do now is go to export and then MIDI file. And then I will go to my desktop and I will just save it. And I'm going to say save everything onto a single track in this case, because I don't want anything to be split up. I just want it all to be in one single track. And now I'm just going to minimize this. And now in my Reaper project, I'm going to set my tempo to 40, which is what I know the tempo is going to be. And then I'm going to go to Insert, Media File, and find my MIDI file. Okay, the ending of this file will be .mid. That doesn't show here, but that's what it is. And then I'm just going to click OK, and I'm going to say OK. And I do want it all on a single track because I don't really want to bother with anything being split up. And there it is. There's my harp part all in here. Okay, now of course, if I start playing it back, I don't hear anything. And the reason is because I haven't assigned any instrument to it. Okay, so I'm going to expand this and I'm going to call it harp. And now I'm going to go to effects and I'm going to go to Garriton. I know there's a harp in there. And then, oh, here, this is something that's very important. This might happen. Let me just go through the process and then I'll show you why it's important. So if I go to harp and I do key switch, so I have a harp playing, that's fine. But then when I start playing, I don't hear anything. Okay, this could be a serious source of frustration. That's because MIDI can happen in a variety of channels. It doesn't always happen in the same one. So you can have multiple channels within a MIDI item. So because I assigned the harp to channel 1, the only way that it will play back is if it's receiving MIDI on channel 1. And so there are two solutions. And it just so happens in this case that the MIDI information is actually on channel 2. How do I know? If I select the MIDI and I right click where it says Note Channel, you see that it's listed as channel 2 out of 16. So you can either move it to channel 1 and now you can hear it. Or another possibility, if I keep it on channel 2, let's see, Note Channel 2, is to go to my ARIA player and actually load a harp on channel 2 instead of channel 1. So I can empty this and I can go to Finale, Keyboards, Harp, and there it is. So now I have a harp in channel 2, so now I hear it. Okay, usually what I tend to do is I leave this in channel 1. If I'm only going to work with one instrument, then I change the channel over here. So that's kind of all there is to it. So all the information that came from Finale is right here. All the notes are here. There's also and I don't know how good this is going to look, but in my MIDI view options, there is an option to view the score. Now, usually, I never bother with this. I'm sure if one spends enough time with it, you can make it look somewhat decent. But as you can see, it's quite messy. And it works also slightly differently than a normal notation program. So that's not something I tend to bother with very much with because, of course, Finale is kind of a dedicated notation program. And it works really well for that. But it can be useful, particularly if what you're writing isn't very complex. But if you listen to the playback, you know, it sounds just like the MIDI file. And I can, of course, one nice thing I could do here is I can change the instrument if I want it to be on piano. You know, I've already showed you all this in a separate video, but that's kind of one of the nice advantages of MIDI is that you can do this sort of thing. Okay, so that's that.